adults who are female but identify as men, they can stay, but they can only take on one of the smaller kind of assistant type roles that are reserved for men. There are men who help in Girlguiding. They're normally husbands and dads who kind of help put up tents, but they can't make the promise. They can't take on a leadership role. Girlguiding, most people quite reasonably believe that it's a single-sex organisation, and that when they send their children off on residential activities, their children will be in single-sex facilities, and that is not guaranteed by any means. Girlguiding they haven't really publicised this policy. I've tried to make it more well known. I think it's working. But alongside that, there's also some very disturbing aspects to this. So, I mean, complete destruction of safeguarding norms. So we all know that an adult never promises to keep a secret with a child or promise them confidentiality. But last week when I was a guide leader, if a child disclosed something to me about their gender identity, then I could keep that. I could promise them confidentiality. We're not allowed to explain to parents whether a trans person is present or not, even in the most general terms, sort of on a standardised statement on the general consent form. And the thing that really upsets me the most, actually, is girls who do not identify as female anymore, regardless of how temporary that is, of what's driving that, how distressed they are. The guidance is published. Leaders need to have a conversation about how long they stay. So that means you're out in the end and taken away from your friends and supporters in guiding. The policy on trans is so completely contradictory. If you are a brownout and you're running a pack holiday for your brownies and you want to take your 5-year-old son with you because you haven't got any childcare, then you need permission from your commissioner to have a boy there. You need to do a risk assessment, and you need to make sure there's separate sleeping, washing and toilet facilities. If that same child identifies as a girl, then you don't have to do any of that. You can just carry on. I don't understand there's no legal difference between those two children. There's no biological difference between those children. How they feel about themselves and how they express how they feel about themselves is perhaps different. So when a male child identifies as a girl, Girlguiding position is, well, we believe you and we accept that as material fact. But they don't seem to accept and they don't seem to believe it when girls say, actually, I'm not really comfortable sharing my safe spaces with male-bodied people. I like my trans friend. We have fun at school together. We're going to have fun activities. But actually, I feel very uncomfortable sharing or getting undressed in front of somebody who perhaps I knew as a boy until maybe 3 months ago, 6 months ago. I mean, that must be a very challenging. And Anne put it so much more eloquently than me about the reaction that women and girls can feel to being unexpectedly in a space with when you're feeling very vulnerable and there's a man there that you weren't expecting. Girlguiding say that anyone can ask for more private accommodation, but that's relying on girls as young as 5 to safeguard themselves, because Girlguiding have taken away the mechanism for parents to support their children. So parents don't really know what's going on. So you're relying on the children to say, I don't feel comfortable. And after what they've done to me, why would any 10-year-old speak out? Why would they do that? They're going to feel like they're being shunned. They might be concerned that they're going to be called some kind of bigot, when they're not at all. They're just children who want to have a safe female-only space to get undressed, to sleep in, to change. There must be no shame in asking for a single-sex space and no negative consequences for doing so. Sex is a protected characteristic. There are single-sex exemptions in law. Ironically, Girlguiding used the single-sex exemptions in the Equality Act to be a single-sex organisation. So the irony there is a bit lost on them. So yesterday, I was on the radio with, not at the same time, it was pre-recorded, with Susie Green. So when I listened back to it, she said, and I don't think she thought about this, no one protected characteristic trumps another. No, it doesn't, Susie. The protected characteristic of gender reassignment does not trump the protected characteristic of sex. So, Girlguiding's Twitter feed. You need to have a look. It's quite spectacular. So, Girlguiding today, after everyone, it seems, was asking them about who gave them the advice to just remove safeguards, put children in mixed-sex accommodation without the parents, and kick out gender non-conforming girls, they confirmed that they have taken advice from Gendered Intelligence and Stonewall, those organisations known for a girl-centred stance. Well, so there was a tweet from Girlguiding, and I was on the train on the way up here, saying they hadn't taken advice from that individual. So, but Jane Fay did say it, so who knows what's going on there. I mean, I am aware that I think that Stonewall advocated or has advocated removal of the single-sex exemptions in the Equality Act. So again, I don't think Girlguiding have thought that through with a girl-only organisation. So they've had this advice from Gendered Intelligence and Stonewall, but so who have they consulted from a child protection point of view? What experts have they? Because I mean, if they had, then presumably they would be telling us all about it. So they've had all this advice, and despite endless requests, there's still been no equality impact assessment produced. I've been asking for 8 months, and I mean, they could have done it in the past 8 months if they hadn't, but anyway. And I do think that, good governance, just stepping aside from the safeguarding issue, good governance means that we must, when we're using external consultants to give us advice on something as great as kind of children's safety, we do need to question their motivation. We need to look at their credentials. What qualifies them to give this advice? It demands that we ask it. And as a leader, my feeling on this very strongly is that I'd be completely negligent to just sort of skim read the policy and then just blindly sort of follow it without considering the context of my particular unit, the children that I have with me, and the individual risks and specific kind of needs of the children. Which is why I started questioning this anyway. But Girlguiding's made their position very clear that any questions, any discussion is just not going to be tolerated, and we will remove you if you ask any questions. In fact, Girlguiding are prepared to use their complaints and disciplinary procedures to silence women who ask difficult questions like me. And I'm not the only one, by the way. I'm the one who went sort of public, but there's another woman who's also been removed from her unit, and she's been in Girlguiding for far longer than I have. And there were other women investigated as well. I need to hurry up. Okay, so finally, so the GRA consultation. So Girlguiding already operates in an environment of gender self-identity. So if the proposed changes to the law go through, it will just be like Girlguiding. The whole of public life will become like Girlguiding. There'll be no guaranteed single-sex spaces, no female-specific services. This is an original quote, and I can't remember who said it, but if we don't see sex, then we don't see sexism. We live in a structurally sexist society where girls and young women need the solidarity and space of a female-only space, and that just won't happen. So please fill in the consultation. Don't be silenced. Use the Women's Place UK guidance or the Fair Play for Women guidance. And I should say Fair Play for Women have been incredibly supportive. They did a lot of writing. They did a huge amount of research. They've been writing and dealing with the EHRC and the Charity Commission. So this wouldn't have happened without Fair Play for Women. Sorry? Oh, sorry, wrap it up. Okay. So yes, fill in the consultation. Share as widely as possible. Otherwise, it will just be like Girlguiding, and there'll be no single sex spaces left. Thank you.